A somewhat foggy day in New York City, a day of tragedy in the upper borough of Harlem, where two buildings have been leveled from an explosion. The latest on that are that there are 2 dead and 12 at least injured, maybe more. They're still searching for possible survivors in the rubble. But that is the latest that we know. And anything else that's happening in the news, we'll always keep you posted. Kevin McCullough, AFA Today, FR Talk. And my phone number is 888-589-8840, 589-8840. What we're talking about is this story out of Duval County, Florida, where an African-American math teacher is facing termination because she used profanity directed at her students. She also used the N-word. That was one of the things cited in the complaints. And she probably will lose her job. She teaches 10th and 11th grade math, and the district is saying that she acted inappropriately. Now, again, I'm telling you, I'm pleasantly surprised that the school district stood up and said, you can't do that. I think most of the time school districts go, oh, the unions will sue us if we try to can her, so let's just try to make this go away. That's typically how public school systems respond to these things. The fact that this one didn't, I think, is amazing. And I'm really, there is some hope. This is also a special ed program, the Bridge to Success program. It's the ne'er-do-wells, kids that are flunking and dropping out on purpose, and so it's kind of a rough crowd to begin with, from the way people are describing it. But I'm curious as to, and one of the reasons I was pleasantly surprised is because it seems to me that the culture is so saturated with swearing and cursing that it's the sin that nobody notices anymore, that it's the sin that nobody cares about anymore, that you have a hard time even getting people in the church to be like, well, what's wrong with that? And that seems sad, but it's the reality of America. It's where we are. And if we are going to be people that obliterate confusion, pursue and amplify truth, and then pursue clarity, we are the process of what we think. I say this all the time: think, believe, act, impact. What you think shapes your belief system. Your belief system shapes your behavior. Your behavior, when it's added up over the course of your life, leaves the impact of who you are. So you're ultimately known for not just what you did or believed, but how you thought. And so if we move people towards thinking that cursing is not a good way to go, it's in fact, it's kind of the cheapest way to go. Could we not get them on a philosophical plane to think my communication needs to have a higher form and goal to it? Or is that just asking for too much from the society that we live in now? 888-589-8840. I'm just curious. Let's talk to Jim in North Carolina. Hi, Jim. Thanks for your patience. You're on with Kevin McCullough. Welcome.
Yes, Kevin. Thank you for taking my call. I have 2 thoughts on this. One, first of all, this teacher's a person of trust. And as a person of trust, there's an expectation that we all have as society, as parents. I'm almost 50 years old. I grew up in a very structured environment at home. I always felt that my teachers and parents had collaborated with one another. So I knew that if I did anything wrong at school, I would be disciplined there, and then in turn would be very disciplined when I got home. Afterwards, of course, I joined the Marine Corps, served 22 years. Marine Corps, very structured environment. So when it comes to professionalism, there's an expectation I have of teachers. Now, that being said, you kind of stolen my thunder about society. We have become a very sassy society. The language and so forth, so much expected. We see teachers on Facebook, students on Facebook. It almost seems, too, like adults, rather than laying aside their childhood and being an adult and being the example, I see more adults trying to be more like the kids. They want to look youth like the kids. They want to speak like the kids. They want to dress like the kids. And sadly, we see this in our president, okay, a president who, when I watch him verbalize the way he walks, anybody can act and walk that way. Why don't you act more like the leader of the free world? And so an example isn't being set there as well. So this is what, as you said before, about society and how it's incrementally changed. And I've watched it over the last, especially 3 decades, a lot of changes that have gone on. and you kind of look back and you say, what is going on? Why are we going this way?
Yeah, that's a good point.
We used to have 15 minutes of fame, but with Facebook and so forth, the fame continues. It's like everybody wants to continuously be famous. And I think these things, when you draw this into society, you can't help it. Now, I don't know what the environment is at this school. I don't know what environment is allowed to be fostered at the school. But if you don't have a structured environment all the way around, these are the things that are going to happen. Now, maybe this teacher felt like, well, again, I'm going to lower myself to the student standards if they're kind of wild and, maybe involved in gangs or whatever. So I'm going to speak their language, which what she needs to be is above that fray, and so that she can be the example for them to follow. But then again, I don't really know all the details about what goes on, but on the surface,
right,
from what I hear, there's things that she should have. But I guess this is just what you can just about expect anymore, because I hear so much of this kind of stuff.
Well, and that's my question. I mean, is it even possible? In our 1 Million Moms organization, they want to see profanity scrubbed from common life in America. I think that's a tremendous aim, but is that conceivable if you have a reprobate society? And that's where we've got to ask these questions. That's where we've got to be looking at things for the reality of what they are, and say, if we're not going to be people about the gospel, if we're not going to be people about the truth of how to be set free, we can't expect society to conform to our changes, externally. We need to pray for tremendous revival. It's one of the reasons why we're focusing on prayer every Monday on the broadcast. If you've not signed up for the prayer focuses, pray2014.com. I think a humbling, prayerful attitude can change our nation, but it has to be humble, and we have to pray. So be part of that every Monday. You get the focuses sent to you. There's no cost to that. Pray2014.com, pray2014.com. Okay, let me go next to John in North Carolina. John, welcome. You're on with Kevin McCullough. So glad that you're with us.
How you doing today, Kevin?
Doing very well.
My wife and my daughter my wife's a substitute teacher, and my daughter teaches a special needs class, and that's the kids that are mentally or physically
right,
not able to go to regular class. And both of them have taken a lot of verbal abuse at school, and both of them have taken the high road and not ever, they let the kids see the Jesus in them instead of stooping to their level and being the same thing worldly people that they are. And I think that's the road you need to take. I mean, it's our responsibility as Christians to let the world see the Jesus in us, and maybe because of that, they'll want to find out who Jesus really is.
No, I think that's a great testimony that they're leaving. Do they find? I'm just curious, John. Do they find that the hostility and the profanity and the cursing is it worse now than when they started in their prospective careers?
No, I mean, well, my wife, I'm telling you, she was. I mean, talking about, it was very sexual toward her. I mean, their language, and that offended her. My wife won't even teach school anymore because they were so offensive to her. I mean, it's crazy how, in this society, like you said, first it was, TV, TV used to not never have no foul language on it. And then slowly but gradually they got cursing in there. And now slowly but gradually they're getting homosexuals in there. And, they're just trying to make it where we don't think it's wrong anymore for either of those. And, sin is sin, whether you're an adulterer or murderer or you use profane language. Sin is sin.
No, I agree, John, and it all separates us from God, and that speaks to our inordinate need that we can't meet on our own, and that's why Jesus, that's why redemption, that's why the cross, that's why the resurrection, that's why belief becomes important. 888-589-8840. This school in Jacksonville is firing a teacher because she was swearing. I want to throw a parade in their honor. But why am I so surprised by that? Shouldn't it just be the expectation? Is it wrong that I ended up being surprised that the school did the right thing? I guess I just have a little bit of cynicism about it because everywhere that I look and see in the culture, we're inundated with this use of profanity and swearing and cursing in a way that, was never accepted in my family, is not going to be accepted with my children, and is one of those things where I don't know how we're going to survive. But what we're going to do is we're going to take stands and we're going to insist upon certain standards in our house and in our family. And we're just not going to conduct ourselves that way. We're not going to let our kids conduct themselves that way. Now, what happens when they get out from our house and beyond our borders? That's where we just get driven to our knees every day. Lord, please. But we don't think it's a lost cause to try to teach them how to. And there's this other element besides the morality portion of it that I think cursing makes you stupid. I think the people that use foul language, you do so out of a lack of being able to articulate a vocabulary that expresses fully what they mean. I think a lot of cursing comes from the inability to express yourself and the anger with it. When you're able to articulate a very specific and purposeful response to something that has irritated you, I think that's a good thing. We should all be able to. But so many times it's F that, and they go off and they do their thing, and you see it everywhere. 888-589-8840. Let's talk to Lee in Nebraska. Hi, Lee. Welcome.
Hi. You just stole my thunder.
Oh, no. Sorry. Well, let's pretend I didn't say it, and you start over again.
Well, I'm 67 and a retired physician, and I was going to say a couple things. One, which you just took away, was the fact that it shows that this lady's education was not all that great, because when you have to resort to swear words to get your point across, it shows your ignorance of the English language. And I'm sure it's good that she needs to be fired, and I'm also certain that there'll be a ACLU will jump in or everything else and try and protect her, and there'll be a fight afterwards to reinstate her. But there's another point that nobody's touched upon, and that's the fact that some 90% of our students were either getting D's or F's, which also points to the fact that she's not a very competent teacher, or she's not, because if her students are doing that poorly, even though they are students that are getting a second chance, it indicates that she's not a very capable teacher. And, for that reason, as well as a cursing, I think she needs to find another job. Yeah,
of her 140 students, what Lee is saying is that she had 108 of them had Fs, which is about 77%, and about 91% of her students were getting a D or an F, which meant there were only a couple of dozen students that were even passing her class.
Which to me shows that she's not a very effective teacher.
Right.
There's a movie which my 67-year-old brain won't let me remember the name of, where there was a black teacher that went into Harlem to a class that were second chance people, and it was a song in a movie back in the 70s, and I just can't remember the name of it. But it also was, I believe, a true story, where a teacher went in and brought respect into his classroom and elevated those children to excel and do well in life. And to me, cursing is just one of the many symptoms of where we are on the timeline of the world. And Jesus said that in the last days, people would be lovers of themselves, and children would not respect their parents. And that's exactly
that is so
what
true,
we are.
Lee. And I thank you for your comments. Such good stuff, and thank you for participating. There's one other element of this that just came into my mind while Lee was telling us there, and that is the other thing is you take this into the world of academia. You take it before political professors and really smart people in our culture today. And you ask them, would you rather your child eat Twinkies or use swear words? And almost 9 out of 10 times, the modern-day academic will say, use the swear words. We don't want them eating unhealthy food. Do you want them, driving a gas-powered vehicle or using swear words? Using swear words. There's a de-emphasis of character development, of the idea of helping people to become better people than where they started out, that is pervasive at higher education. When that trickles down to the inner city school where Joyce Quiller is at, you couple that with kind of a justification of culture and other things, and all of a sudden you've taken every incentive away from a teacher of being that kind of inspiring figure that, should set the pace. Is Jacksonville doing the right thing by firing her? Absolutely. I'm just shocked that in this day and age that they're willing to do it, and I'm glad that they are. I'm Kevin McCullough. Brian Fisher's next. Focal Point is on the way. It's AFA Today on AFR Talk each weekday. Thanks for being with us.